Father Ted from Fr.TEDTalks, and welcome again to another episode. And today we're going to be talking about the problems of Sunday schools. Now, what do I mean by the problems of Sunday school? Because, it's usually every parish's, goal to have a strong, vibrant Sunday school, indeed to have strong, vibrant programs within the church so that we can convey or to be able to teach and pass on our Orthodox faith to our future generations, right? So we want to be able to have programs that are able to teach our youngest children, even from the youngest ages, from the kindergarten ages, to help train them up in the faith. And so most Orthodox parishes have Sunday schools and also other programs like adult religious education and, different things that go along with it. So, what is really the main problem? Well, we've been doing Sunday schools and kind of like this Protestant model that we've adopted as Orthodox Christians when we came to North America. We adopted this kind of Protestant/Catholic model of doing a Sunday school, and basically this structure, what does it look like? It looks like most parishes where children come to church with their families, but at some point during the Divine Liturgy on Sunday, they are separated from their families and they are taken away into classrooms somewhere else in the vicinity of the church, where they are given religious instruction. And usually this is happening during Divine Liturgy. A lot of times the children are brought back into the liturgy right before Holy Communion, so they can receive Holy Communion, of course, and then they are ushered out of the church again. So in some parishes, this kind of happens at different points in the liturgy. In some parishes, there is assigned kind of special seating for the youth in the front of the church or in a special section of the pews where they can all kind of sit together and make it more manageable to kind of have them exit the church without making too much of a disruption or come back into the church at different times in the liturgy. So, and usually, they will go and they will receive anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour of religious instruction, depending on what is being taught in their grade that day. And of course, as I said before, they usually only come back into the liturgy for Holy Communion. So, a lot of parishes have very strong and successful Sunday schools. And when we say strong and successful, we Orthodox usually mean numbers, right? So when we see a lot of numbers in a Sunday school, when we see a lot of kids, we believe that we are having a lot of success because there's a lot of, participation within the program. However, I would say that, and the purpose of this whole video is to discuss, what is the fundamental problem with this? Well, number one, if we have strong Sunday schools and if we have a strong religious upbringing within our church, or if we think we do, then it would be logical to conclude that once our children kind of get to an age where they graduate from Sunday school, which usually is around 16 or 17, when they kind of finish the teen classes and they're becoming young adults and going into university, it would be normal to conclude that those children having a strong Orthodox religious foundation would continue in the faith and be, religious, contributing Orthodox, active Orthodox Christians within the church, into their young adult lives and then further on. So, what we would hope is that these children would know how to worship. They would know, they would understand the value of the community, of being part of the Orthodox Church, of the importance and value of participating in the sacramental life of the church, confession, communion, baptism, all these kind of things that are taught. And that they would slowly, as they enter adulthood, would begin to kind of, volunteer and contribute in their own way. Maybe, volunteer on the parish council or in the Fr.TEDTalks, which is the women's auxiliary for the Friends of the Poor, or any of the other programs of the church, and that they would continue to become more active members. However, the reality is that after kind of doing this, kind of type of religious education for the last, I would say, even almost 100 years here in North America, we see that the opposite is true. We see that over 60% of our young people, when they kind of finish Sunday school, they completely disengage with the church. They kind of leave, and out of those 60%, not many of them even come back. And even that 60% is kind of a generous number. I think it's an overestimation in some parishes, in some jurisdictions. It can be up to 90% of the kids, don't kind of step foot in the church after they finish Sunday school. And we don't see them again. And the only times we do see them in their adult life is when they get married, if they get married in the church, or if they have children, they want to baptize kids in the church. So where have we gone wrong? Like, what is going on here? Why do we have this phenomenon of our Sunday schools kind of not producing the types of Orthodox Christians that we would like? Well, there are a number of factors. The number one factor is that I would say that it is not, our underlying premise is that the Sunday school, it's their job to teach and train our Orthodox Christians. It is not, number one, the Sunday school's job to raise Orthodox Christians. Whose job is it? It is first and foremost the parents. The responsibility and the weight, and the responsibility falls on the parents, right? Parents are the number one teachers of their children. They are the ones that are with their children the most. They are with their children in the formative years, in the first year to the fourth year before they even go to school. They are the ones who are modeling behavior, and it is the parents' job, number one, to model an Orthodox lifestyle. So, for example, if parents pray at home, for themselves, first of all, and also with their families, their children will also pray. If the parents fast at home, then the children will fast. If the parents go to church regularly and take Holy Communion and go to confession and participate in the sacraments, and the children will also do the same. If the parents have icons in the home and they venerate the icons, and they have a prayer corner, and they do all these kind of things that involve and bring the church into the home church, which is the home, the house, then the children will also do these things. So if the children, see their parents, they will model any type of behavior that the parents give them onto them. If the parents do not do these things, if the parents largely abdicate their responsibilities of raising their children in the Orthodox faith, if parents do not fast, they do not participate in the church, they do not want to go to church quite often, they prioritize other things, then the children, it doesn't matter how much Sunday school they get, they won't do these things. They will see a difference, a dichotomy between what is happening in the church and what is happening in the home, and the children will be confused, and they will tend to gravitate towards what is happening in the home because that is the most influence they are getting from their parents and from their grandparents and from their immediate family. So number one is that if we are expecting the Sunday school to teach our children the faith, and we do not teach the faith or live the faith ourselves, then of course we won't really have the results that we want. So that's number one. The parents are responsible for raising the children in the faith, number one, and the Sunday school is simply an assistant. It's a supplementary. It is there to reinforce what the parents are already teaching and living in the home. That's number one. Number two is that the actual structure that we have of Sunday school in North America, something that, as I mentioned before, was borrowed from the Protestants and the Catholics, is antithetical to forming Orthodox Christians within the worship life of the church. And what do I mean by this? Well, you heard me mention before that the church kind of like brings the children in, but the Sunday school programs that are running during Divine Liturgy, they are effectively taking kids out of the Divine Liturgy. They are taking them out of the actual environment, which is the most important, which is in the Divine Liturgy, in the Holy Services, to be able to learn how to pray, how to venerate icons, how to do their cross, how to watch mommy and daddy, their parents do it, and to be able to model that behavior. And so we take the children out of that environment and we place them in yet another classroom. And kids have been in classrooms all week, right? They're in classrooms Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days of the week. Some Greek Orthodox kids, for example, or any other kind of cultural Orthodox kids, Serbians, Ukrainians, whatever. Sometimes they'll have cultural language schools on Saturdays, so they're in school yet again on Saturday. And now we've taken Sunday, which is the the one family day they have, the one day that they can worship God, one day that they can truly experience the mystical liturgy, and we take them out of that wonderful experience, away from their parents, and we place them yet again in another classroom. A lot of kids do not like this, even though they may enjoy the Sunday school classroom programs. They do not enjoy being placed back into another classroom yet again. What they need is kind of like the living experience of the church to be able to form them and to kind of influence them as the years go by. And so we take them out of that exact Divine Liturgy in which we want them to continue to participate when they become of age, right? And so no wonder that if a child goes through Sunday school, from kindergarten age all the way up to like 16 or 17 years old, and then suddenly they find themselves graduated and out of Sunday school, they have no concept of how just to be an Orthodox Christian, because they've never actually been in the liturgy except for little snippets or little small, parts of it that is disjointed from the overall understanding of the faith. And so kids don't know how to be in church. They don't know how to kind of just be prayerful within the Divine Liturgy, or to follow the Divine Liturgy, the process, the beautiful journey that is given to us during the Divine Liturgy, kind of leading up to Holy Communion. And so they disengage. They don't know how to do it. It seems foreign to them, ironically, and so they don't go to church. This is something that is actually our fault as church programmers, as priests, and as Sunday schools, where we have effectively trained our kids out of worship. over the years by offering them an alternative, by offering them something different. Now, this is a big problem because in a lot of parishes, maybe due to time constraints or even space constraints, it is difficult to run Sunday school at a different time. And yet, if we are going to run a religious education system, it is more preferable to run it not during the Divine Liturgy, right? In Greece in the old days, or in other Orthodox countries, when our parents were little children or our grandparents, they used to run religious programs during the school or during Saturday, but never during Sunday, which was the day of worship with the family. So what is the ideal? The ideal is that children go to church with their families and that they show up on time, not late. They're not showing up at a time where the Sunday school starts, but rather they show up at the very beginning of Divine Liturgy so that they don't miss this beautiful structure, this beautiful journey of the Divine Liturgy, of hearing the Gospel, the sermon, and all the beautiful prayers in the Liturgy of the Faithful leading up to Holy Communion. So they show up with their families. Ideally, they would sit with their parents because they want to and they need to observe what their parents are doing, right? So their parents, when they do their cross, the child does their cross. When the parents bow, the children bow. When the parents go and receive Holy Communion, the child watches this and does the same thing. And so the ideal would be that the children would be with their parents, not separated from their parents and put into a different environment, irregardless of how good that environment is. So again, as a side note right now, this is not a criticism of all our wonderful Sunday school teachers who are doing a phenomenal job trying to convey the Orthodox faith to their kids. They are doing a wonderful job. They're in the trenches. They're doing the best they can, but they are working hard, but they're not working smart. And we as a community, as a church, are working hard, but we're not working smart. We are putting all these resources into these wonderful Sunday school programs, and some of these Sunday schools are very, very good and very, very advanced, and they have very, very nice curricula, and they teach wonderful things to our kids, but we are teaching them at the wrong time of the day, in the wrong time of the week, and we are not complementing Orthodox formation, but rather we are inadvertently working against it, right? So number two is that we are taking children out of the Divine Liturgy that they are supposed to be in, and we are taking them away from the mystical experience of the church, right? So that's number two. Number three, and the final one, would be that we want to take a look at the church as in a holistic way, right? With a holistic approach. So as I mentioned at the beginning, that it is parents that are responsible first to teach the kids, right? So one of the biggest problems that we have, and one of the biggest areas where we have a lack of knowledge, is actually in the adult generation. In the old days and in previous centuries, the way the church worked and why the Orthodox Church never had the phenomenon of a Sunday school was that it was assumed that grandparents and parents at the top of the family pyramid knew the faith quite well because of their experience, because of their life experience, and because of attending church for so many years and participating, that they would model that behavior, and that they would teach their children, and that kind of Orthodox knowledge and understanding and tradition would kind of filter down to the children, to the young children in the home, and they would be enculturated into the church by the elders of the church, right? Whether it be the grandparents, whether it be the parents, whether it be aunts or uncles or friends or other elders within the church. The problem with today is that we do not have a strong mentorship program within the Orthodox Church. And when I say mentorship, I mean young people looking up and learning from elders within the church, whether it be their parents, their grandparents, or other elders within the church. A lot of times we have kind of, as I said, placed the responsibility of education and of teaching children with schools and with the programs within the church, and not with the elders of the church. And so children do not have elders, do not have role models within the church to look to. Oftentimes, parents tell me that, Father, I don't know how to answer the religious questions for my children. I don't know the basics of the faith. I don't know what to tell my children when they ask me difficult questions. When they come home from Sunday school and they talk about the things that they have discussed in class, I don't know how to engage because I myself do not know. And a lot of times even the grandparents do not know, because they may have grown up at a time in the village where there wasn't a lot of strong education, and even though they believe very strongly, they don't have the ways of articulating the reasons behind the things that we do within the Orthodox faith to the younger generation. And also, we do not foster an environment within the church where children in the programs, in the youth programs, are interacting with the elders of the church. Usually, different programs in churches are disjointed. You have, the parish council over here, the Fr.TEDTalks over here. Maybe there's a seniors group. Maybe there is an adult group. Maybe there's a teen group. There is a youth group. There's a dance group. All these different groups exist, but they don't often speak to each other, and they don't interact with one another, and there isn't much mentorship happening. And so the third problem is that there's a lack of mentorship within the church. And so the ideal, the way to remedy that would be to have a stronger emphasis on adult religious education within the church, right? For the priest and also for the whole administration of the church, to lay more of an emphasis on educating and teaching the adults and helping them take responsibility for the religious education and upbringing of their children. And also to create programs that are not just programs for program's sake, or just because we want to have lots of people in these programs and so that we can think that we're successful, but rather programs that will actually help mentor our kids, will help our children kind of participate within, the maintenance of the church and the organization of the church and planning and things like that, and learning from people like the board members and from the Fr.TEDTalks and from the elders within the church, so that they are actively growing into the roles of being adult, active, Orthodox, mature Orthodox Christians. And so these are kind of like the three main problems that we have within our Sunday schools, but generally speaking with religious education within the church, right? Number one is that we have adopted a model that kind of separates kids and places all the emphasis on our Sunday schools, takes the emphasis away from their parents and from their responsibilities. Number two is that we kind of take them out of divine liturgy and we put them in a classroom again. We take them away from the mystical life of the church, from the active participation within the church. And thirdly, we do not have mentorship within the church. And those three things have contributed to kind of a whole generation of people now who are now parents and are raising other kids within the church, because the generations have kind of gone by in North America, where people spend most of their youth in a Sunday school classroom and not in actual liturgy. They spend most of their youth in a program of the church, but not actually in the church. They spend most of their youth kind of doing things with a certain group of people within the church, but not interacting with the whole church and with all the different age groups and generations of the church. And so when they graduate from those programs, whether it be Sunday school or dance group or youth group or whatever, they only identify as being part of those groups. I am a dancer within the dance group, or I identify as a Sunday school instructor, or a Sunday school student. I identify as a youth group member. But after those years have passed, what am I? I don't know what I identify with anymore. I don't know what it's like to be just an Orthodox Christian, part of the general Orthodox family. And this is something that is awkward for me now, and I don't know what to do. And this is something that is often conveyed by young adults who kind of get lost within those years, especially in their 20s and early 30s, where they feel a disconnection to the church because they haven't been properly formed within the faith. And so these are some of my thoughts. I don't say them to kind of offend anybody, but rather just kind of to bring to the forefront, get us thinking a little bit about some of the real fundamental problems that we have within the Orthodox Church, especially here in North America, and kind of the structures of how we teach our children in Sunday school and youth groups and other programs, but especially in Sunday school, and how we need to think outside the box, but rather maybe even kind of go back to the older box, which is the Byzantine Empire, to our Orthodox faith, to the past, and see how the church historically worked, and why the church historically never needed programs like Sunday school. I don't think that is the case today. I think we do need Sunday schools, but I think they need to change in their structure so that they can complement our active Orthodox mystical life and not work against it or train people out of it. So those are my thoughts today. I hope you find them useful. Feel free to email us at Fr.TEDTalks@gmail.com for any further questions or any other videos that you would like to see on any topic in the Orthodox faith, and we will see you again in a few weeks. Till then, take care and God bless.